Doomfist has been giga buffed for this patch. We're going to talk about that in just a second. First of all, I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is that the support role has continued to be neglected, and I really feel for my support players out there. I'm going to read out the support changes, and then I'll talk about the problem with the support role right now. And we'll start with Mercy. Her weapon swap time has been reduced from 0.5 to 0.35 seconds. The Caduceus Blaster ammo has gone up from 20 to 25. I'm sorry, but this change in particular is the most disconnected change I've ever seen in an Overwatch balance patch. And which Mercy player out there, I actually can't think of any Mercy player or even any Mercy content creator who has ever thought oh yeah, I would really love it if I could pull up my blaster fast enough and spam down a choke or take duels more often. This is not the problem with Mercy. There are a decent amount of problems with Mercy and her the way she fits into 5v5, and there are multiple ways to solve these problems as well. The Mercy content creators have done a great job of explaining in depth of how they would approach Mercy. And this change, honestly, this change and honest change that I'll read out in just a second, these two changes just feel like they were put here for the sake of making it look like they care about the support role. That's the way I see it. Moving on, I'm going to read Kiriko in just a second. Ana's change was that the sleep dot cooldown has been reduced from 15 to 14 seconds. Look guys, I'm going to keep it real with you. 15 to 14 seconds is basically one team fight, right? Ana is going to use that sleep dart only once, and given the fact that she is a support and she is playing Ana, who is a very, she's not mobile, she doesn't have any movement abilities, she will be a priority target for any flanking character, Winston, Genji, Tracer, who is now very, very powerful as well, Doomfist, who's almost unstoppable in this patch. I feel Ana is going to have a tough time. I don't think this is enough. Especially if you have Ana and Doomfist, especially since Doomfist got giga buffed, I personally think you could have put sleep dart down to about 10 seconds and see how that feels. I think 10 seconds would have been an interesting spot, but this will barely be felt. This will literally barely be felt. I remember when we swapped over from Overwatch 1 and the cooldown went from 12 to 15, you couldn't feel those changes because it's like you only have that one ammo of sleep dart, and when you use it, the enemy knows you've used it and they basically focus on taking you out, and it leaves you incredibly vulnerable. So I don't know. If anybody has something that they want to put in about Ana, feel free to. I just don't think this is going to be enough, and I've played Ana at the highest levels of play. I've played this game at the highest levels of play on all three roles, and it just really feels like the support role in particular is being neglected. Kiriko, however, is not somebody that's neglected because this character was made for 5v5, and rightfully so. I still think she's going to be the best support in 5v5 even after these, well, one of them is a nerf, the other are quality of life changes that you could consider buffs. Her arm hit volume width has been reduced by 15%. If you guys don't know what this means, basically Kiriko, with the way she holds her hands out to hold her papers and her kunai, it can actually cover her head, so she can't take headshot damage from certain crosshair placements. So this is to actually allow you to be able to hit her head more consistently, which is again a very welcome change since that something like this is really, really silly. Kituna Rush, the alt cost went up by 10%. This will barely be felt oh no, I'll build up Kituna Rush 2 to 3 seconds later. No big deal. Movement speed bonus reduced from 50 to 30%. Cooldown rate reduction from 3 to 2 times faster. Okay, so overall, it seems like Kituna Rush made people way too fast. This is to give a decent speed boost, but not enough to where it can feel a bit too overwhelming. However, it's I still think Kituna Rush and Keiko overall as a character are going to be very strong in Overwatch 2 even after these changes. I personally think this is more of an adjustment to Kituna Rush rather than a nerf. I'm more than happy to be proven wrong. Given results and playtime, I will be playing her after this. But I think Kituna Rush is just such a strong ultimate, and Keiko is just very strong as well. Protection Suzu, cast time reduced from 0.15 to 0.1. So it's like Ana's nade now. Basically, she throws it out really, really quickly. And Kunai ammo gone up from 12 to 15. Okay, not really where the problem was with Kunai. It's very gimmicky and could be very inconsistent. But you know what? This is not bad. We'll take it. Swift Step, the ability can now be held to activate. Again, these three changes are quality of life changes. You could consider them buffs as well. Overall, the character should feel a lot more smoother to play, I guess you could say. So not bad. Honestly, while yes, the arm hit volume width going down by 15% and the alt becoming a little bit clunky, will feel a bit weird, and there'll be moments with Kiriko now where you'll feel like, oh damn, I got shot down pretty quickly there because of the arms, them being adjusted. I still think Kiriko is going to be the best support in Overwatch 2. Moving on from here, oh, this is interesting. Tracer actually got her damage from Overwatch 1 back. There was a bug in the previous season where her fall off was having some issues where the correct numbers weren't applying and it would apply the complete damage rather than apply the fall off appropriately. So they actually patched that bug, but what they were like thinking as well is that Tracer kind of feels weak right now. So they were just like, yeah, remember when we nerfed Tracer because she was a bit too strong? Yeah, well, we're just gonna give her back that same damage and hopefully it's not that crazy. The funny thing about this as well is that when they were nerfing Genji, they said that the reason they wanted to nerf Genji was to bring him down to the levels where Tracer and Reaper were, implying that that's where they want their flankers to be, in that like spot in terms of damage numbers and mobility. So now that they've buffed Tracer, it's also kind of contradictory to how they approach Genji. And to make matters even worse with their balancing philosophy, they actually completely changed their DPS passive again. And they mentioned that the reason they nerfed Genji was because of the DPS passive. So instead of reverting the Genji changes as well, they just kind of like forgot about him, like, whoops. It's just, we nerfed him because of the DPS passive, now we've changed the passive, so he'll feel even more horrible this patch. But you can play Tracer. And I don't know, it's honestly really funny and really silly to see. Symmetra got some decent changes, so I don't really play Symmetra that much. I might actually pick her up this season and give her like a little bit of a shot, see if I can reach I want to try and reach Masters with her. I like want to give myself a personal challenge, but I don't know, the hero can be a little bit boring. But her beam charge rate and decay rate have been increased by 20%. Her primary fire ammo consumption rate has increased from 7 to 10 per second, and her primary fire gains ammo from damaging barriers. So it'll basically make her feel faster to play, keep up with this like fast-paced game, and they've said that Symmetra is actually in a decent spot. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with that. I'm not a Symmetra specialist, so to all my Symmetra specialists out there, you guys let me know. Is this a good change for Sim? Is this bad? I mean, to be honest, like on paper over here, it looks like a pretty good change. Moving upwards, the very well-deserved nerf. Sojourn has been nerfed quite a bit. I think it just makes her a little bit inconsistent. She can still do the stuff that she does, but like there'll be maps where she'll be really, really good. And then on certain maps, she will definitely feel these nerfs. So her energy delay before draining has been reduced from 8 to 5 seconds. Secondary fire damage falloff starts from, the starting range has been reduced from 70 to 40 meters. The secondary fire crit damage multiplier has been reduced from 2 to 1.5. This is actually a pretty interesting change. The secondary fire damage now scales linearly with energy from 30 to 130 damage. One energy converts to 1 damage added. Okay, that's actually interesting. The primary fire has been increased to 9 to 10, so they put a little bit more power into the primary fire, and the overclock energy charge rate has been increased by 20%. Okay, so I already gave my comment. I think she'll still be a strong pick. She'll just be like inconsistent here and there. And this is just to like make her maybe not a must pick. Like, okay, there'll be some maps where you might actually consider swapping the Sojourn. Like, Sojourn's basically a hit scan. I know she has a projectile for her primary fire, the one that she uses to build up the overclock projectile shots, but everybody considers her a hit scan, so we'll keep her that way as well. She's also basically a better version of all the hit scans in the game. Honestly, I think she's still going to be really good. I think she'll be a lot more bearable, and now you'll feel like you can actually deal with her, maybe, but I still think she's going to be a really powerful pick, just like Kiriko. Like, I just think these characters that were designed for 5v5 fit so well into the game that you can control them, but like their kits are so well made that they'll just like they can still fit in. Like even Junker Queen last patch, Junker Queen wasn't necessarily bad, it was just like the other tanks were a little bit like too strong compared to her, and she did get some buffs. We'll read them in just a second, but my point still stands. Like Kiriko got her changes, but she'll still be really good. If not, I would say she's still the best support in supports. Now this ongoing Bastion situation, they are doing everything possible to make Bastion quote-unquote viable. Blizzard, why do you try this? This character is very unhealthy for this game every time he becomes a little bit viable, but they are very adamant about it. So his ultimate, there's the delay before the projectile drops has been reduced from 1 to 0.6. The explosion damage has been reduced because, obviously it's going to land a lot faster. And it no longer deals damage to Bastion himself. And the minimum delay between placing shots has been reduced by 20%. Is this even a thing that is really felt that much? The reconfigure cooldown has been reduced to 10 seconds, so your Bastions will be going into tank form a lot more. Great. Just what we needed. More characters that just pump out damage like crazy. Can't wait for the meta to somehow develop into Sojourn and Bastion out of nowhere. I might have accidentally jinxed that one into existence. Alright, moving on. It's a tank roll. I saved this one for last because it's a very beefy changes for two of our beefy tanks. It's Junker Queen, and she's getting a lot more buff. No, quite literally, the torso and head hit volume size has been increased by 12%, so she's thicker now in this patch. The Adrenaline Rush passive healing multiplier has been increased from 1 to 1.25 damage dealt by wounds. Commanding Shout cooldown reduced to 14 seconds. Rampage wound duration reduced from 5 to 4.5. The alt cost also reduced by 10%. This is actually a really nice change. So Rampage should come up a lot faster. Basically, the developer comments for this is that they want to increase her survivability, and they also kind of just want to make her, increase her survivability and make her feel a lot more consistent to play, as, they want her to be able to heal herself effectively through her wounds as she does her damage, so that she can stay in the fight a lot longer and duel some of these tanks and be a lot more competitive as a hero pick. This then brings us to the guy that got overbuffed. I'm a Doomfist player. I love playing Doomfist. He's like possibly my second most played character. But even I think this is a little bit ridiculous. There's a lot to read out. So I'm just gonna, I'll let you guys have a look. For at least Rocket Punch, I'm not gonna read it out, but I'll try my best to summarize it super fast. Rocket Punch changes basically that the punch will now do a little bit more damage. The wall slam damage has been reduced to make up for the fact that the impact damage is more. The empowered punch, the stun has actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's been like this, the empowered punch wall slam stun duration range reduced from 0.5 to 0.25 to 0.75 seconds. The empowered rocket punch knockback radius has been reduced from 4 to 3 meters. Then the minimum time before cancel option becomes available, reduced from 0.25 to 0.12 seconds. The cooldown reduced from 4 to 3 seconds. This is huge. And then this has been in since its rework, but it was not mentioned. Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay, so basically, Rocket Punch is very powerful, and it's a lot more consistent. And while it does kind of, some of these areas, like if you read them like on paper, it looks like it's a nerf. Overall, with the way his whole kit is interacting, it's actually a very big buff. So moving over to Power Block, the cooldown has been reduced from 8 to 7 seconds. The duration has increased to 2.5 seconds. The minimum damage needed to empower the Rocket Punch has gone up to 80 damage. This is actually really, really good, a good change. I don't even know what to say. This is the very fun one. So Meteor Strike now gives him the empowered punch. The enemies slowed up to 3 seconds instead of 2. This and just comboing his whole kit together is going to feel really strong. Then the best defense is passive. He's gaining more health. So temporary health gained per target hit with the abilities has increased from 30 to 40 HP. And the maximum health that he can have has gone up from 150 to 200. So Doomfist is going to be a pretty beefy boy this patch, which means that in turn, Sombra and Reaper might actually be some meta picks to have on your side of the team. Even Tracer is going to be pretty good to have, given the fact that those 3 characters will be good at dealing with Doomfist. So that is it for the patch notes, everybody. I'm not necessarily going to talk about Ramatra over here, since it's just his basics or tier list. It's just to cover the fact that Doomfist has been gigabuffed, support is being neglected, and DPS feels weird and inconsistent in terms of balancing. They really want to push Bastion for some reason. They gave Sojourn a decent slap on the wrist. Symmetra she got a little pat on the head. That's what she got. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think these buffs and nerfs were good? Or do you think these buffs and nerfs were bad? And if so, if you could change something about a character that you like or dislike, what would that be? Let me know in the comments down below. To support my channel, just hit subscribe and like. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.